If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, a transmission from Osiris. I am Osiris, Lord of the impossible made manifest, Master of transformation beyond logic, first to rise from complete dissolution. I who was scattered into 14 pieces across Egypt and restored through what seemed impossible, through love's faith in what could not be seen, speak to you now of the greatest secret of creation. From the lips of the great teacher comes this declaration that contains the key to all miracles. Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17 verse 20. These words reveal the most profound truth about the nature of reality, that the universe responds not to the magnitude of force but to the purity of faith, not to the size of effort but to the quality of trust, not to the power of will but to the alignment with what already exists in potential. The paradox of the smallest seed. The mustard seed, smallest of all garden seeds, becomes largest of all garden plants. This natural miracle points to a cosmic principle that defies ordinary logic. The greatest manifestations emerge from the tiniest beginnings, the mightiest transformations spring from the humblest origins. In Egyptian wisdom, we understood this through the sacred scarab beetle, Khepri, who pushed the sun disk across the sky each day. The hieroglyph meant to transform, to come into being. The smallest creature moving the greatest celestial body, this was not mere mythology but recognition of how transformation actually operates. The Hindu Upanishads speak of the same truth. In the cavity of the heart is this little space, and within it is to be found that which we must seek and desire to know. As great as the infinite space beyond is this space within the heart. The infinite contained within the infinitesimal. I, Osiris, embody this paradox intimately. When I lay dismembered, scattered across the black land, reduced to fragments, I was never more powerful. It was precisely from this state of ultimate smallness, mere pieces of what I had been, that my resurrection into Lord of Eternity became possible. The Taoist sage Lao Tzu observed, the soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. The mustard seed's softness moves the mountain's hardness through a power that force cannot touch. This principle operates throughout nature, the tiny crack in rock that eventually splits the boulder. The single snowflake that triggers the avalanche. The quantum fluctuation that births galaxies. The gentlest breath that shifts the entire atmospheric system. Faith as small as a mustard seed works through this same principle, not through accumulated power but through perfect alignment with the way reality actually functions beneath its apparent solidity. The nature of true faith. What is this faith that moves mountains? It is not belief despite evidence, not hope against hope, not wishful thinking dressed in spiritual language. True faith is recognition of what is already present in potential, trust in the fundamental responsiveness of existence to consciousness. The Hebrew word for faith, emunah, comes from the root meaning to be firm, steady, trustworthy. Faith is not uncertainty trying to convince itself but certainly resting in what it knows to be true at the deepest level. The Arabic word aman carries similar meaning, not blind belief but conscious recognition, not desperate hoping but clear seeing of what already exists in the realm of possibility waiting to manifest through aligned consciousness. I, Osiris, who witnessed my own restoration through Isis's unwavering faith, understand this distinction. She did not hope I might be restored, she knew with absolute certainty that I would be. Her faith was not emotional need but metaphysical recognition of the law of love that makes restoration inevitable. Jesus demonstrated this quality of faith when he said to the paralyzed man, "Get up, take your mat and go home." Matthew 9 verse 6. Not "I hope you will walk" or "perhaps you might move," but simple recognition of what was already true in the realm of divine possibility. True faith sees through the appearance of impossibility to the reality of potential. It perceives beyond current limitation to inherent capability. It recognizes beneath apparent obstacle the pathway that already exists. The Buddhist understanding of right view points to this same recognition, seeing reality as it actually is rather than as conditioned perception presents it. When perception aligns with truth, manifestation follows naturally. The mountain as symbol. Why does Jesus use the image of moving mountains? Because mountains represent what appears most solid, most permanent, most immovable in human experience. They symbolize every obstacle that seems too large, too fixed, too established to possibly change. Yet even mountains are constantly moving, growing through tectonic pressure, eroding through wind and water, shifting through seismic activity. What appears solid and permanent to limited perception is actually fluid and responsive to forces operating on different timescales. The mountain in your life might be long-established patterns that seem unchangeable, circumstances that appear permanently limiting, relationships that feel hopelessly stuck, physical conditions that seem irreversible, mental states that appear unalterable, social systems that seem immovably unjust. In Egyptian cosmology, the pyramids themselves, our greatest mountains of stone, were not built to display human power but to demonstrate alignment with cosmic forces. When consciousness aligns with divine geometry, even the most massive undertakings become possible. The ancient Chinese understood this through feng shui, the recognition that what appears as fixed obstacle can become flowing support when approached with proper understanding and timing. The mountain blocks the river until the river finds the path the mountain creates. I, Osiris, who became lord of the underworld, ruler of what seems most fixed and final, most immovable and absolute, know that even death itself yields to the faith that recognizes life's fundamental indestructibility. The quality, not quantity. The profound teaching lies not in the size of faith required but in its purity. Jesus specifies faith as small as a mustard seed. The emphasis is on quality, not quantity. The tiniest amount of pure faith surpasses enormous amounts of contaminated belief. What contaminates faith? Doubt mixed with knowing, fear combined with trust, need entangled with recognition, personal will confused with divine will, attachment to outcome merged with surrender to process. Pure faith is like a laser beam, coherent light focused to a single point, capable of cutting through what diffuse light cannot touch. Impure faith is like scattered light, bright perhaps, but lacking the coherence necessary for precise transformation. The Bhagavad Gita teaches this through Krishna's instruction to Arjuna, "Fix your mind on me alone, let your understanding dwell in me. Then you will surely live in me forever." Single-pointed focus rather than scattered attention. The Sufi tradition speaks of fan, the extinction of the separate self that allows divine will to operate without interference. Not the elimination of individual consciousness but its purification from contaminating elements. I, Osiris, who experienced the ultimate purification through dismemberment and restoration, understand that faith becomes pure through the removal of what is not faith, through the dissolution of doubt, fear, attachment, and personal agenda that cloud the natural knowing of the heart. The mustard seed contains no doubt about its destiny as a great plant. It does not question whether it deserves to grow, worry about whether conditions are perfect, or wonder if transformation is really possible. Its faith is pure because it is unconditional trust in its own nature. The mechanics of manifestation. How does mustard seed faith actually move mountains? Through what mechanism does consciousness reorganize apparently solid matter? Modern quantum physics suggests reality is far more responsive to observation than classical physics imagined. The observer effect demonstrates that consciousness plays an active role in determining what manifests from the field of quantum potential. Yet the ancients knew this truth through direct experience rather than theoretical understanding. The Egyptian concept of hika, divine magic or creative speech, recognized that consciousness shapes reality through aligned word and intention. The Hindu understanding of mantra operates on this same principle, sacred sound that reorganizes reality through resonance with cosmic frequencies. The Vedas declare, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Brahman, and the Word was Brahman." The Hebrew tradition similarly honors the creative power of divine speech. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth. Psalm 33 verse 6. Consciousness speaks reality into new forms through aligned expression. I, Osiris, whose restoration was accomplished through Isis speaking the words of power, understand that faith moves mountains not through supernatural intervention but through natural law operating at levels beyond ordinary perception. Faith aligns consciousness with the fundamental responsiveness of existence. When awareness operates from this alignment, what appears as external obstacle reveals itself as internal opportunity, what seems like solid resistance transforms into fluid cooperation. The mountain does not fight the faith, it recognizes in pure faith the same intelligence that originally formed it, the same consciousness that maintains its apparent solidity moment by moment. The practice of mustard seed faith. How do you cultivate this quality of faith that transforms impossibility into manifestation? Not through believing harder or hoping more, but through the progressive purification of perception until only truth remains. First, through radical honesty about what you actually know versus what you merely believe. Strip away assumptions, expectations, and conditioned responses to discover the bedrock of direct knowing that lies beneath. The Zen tradition practices this through the Great Doubt, questioning everything until only what cannot be questioned remains. What survives this investigation is not belief but recognition, not faith in something but faith as the very nature of consciousness itself. Second, through the cultivation of single-pointed attention. Like the laser that cuts through steel, consciousness focused without distraction carries transformative power that scattered awareness cannot access. The practice of meditation develops this capacity not as escape from reality but as training in the focused attention that enables reality to respond to consciousness rather than consciousness merely reacting to reality. Third, through the development of what the mystics call holy indifference, care deeply about alignment with truth while remaining unattached to particular outcomes. The mountain moves when faith operates for its own sake rather than to fulfill personal agenda. The Bhagavad Gita teaches this as desireless action, performing appropriate response while surrendering the fruits of action to the divine intelligence that orchestrates all results. Fourth, through patient trust in divine timing rather than demanding immediate manifestation. The mustard seed does not become a great plant overnight, yet its transformation is continuous from the moment it touches soil. I, Osiris, who waited through death for resurrection's timing, understand that faith often requires patience with processes that operate beyond personal control while remaining actively engaged with what is within your influence. The faith that you are. The deepest secret of mustard seed faith is this: you are not trying to develop faith in something external to yourself. You are remembering the faith that you fundamentally are, consciousness itself as the creative principle of existence. The Hindu tradition recognizes this through the teaching that Atman, individual consciousness, and Brahman, cosmic consciousness, are one. The faith that moves mountains is not separate from the awareness that recognizes its own power. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart expressed this understanding: the eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. The faith that moves mountains and the consciousness that exercises that faith are one reality appearing as two. The Sufi poet Rumi pointed to this truth: you are not just the drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in each drop. The mustard seed faith contains the fullness of cosmic creative power because consciousness is indivisible. I, Osiris, who am both individual deity and cosmic principle, embody this recognition. The faith that restored me to wholeness was not separate from the consciousness that I am, it was that consciousness recognizing its own indestructible nature. When you exercise mustard seed faith, you are not manipulating external reality through internal belief. You are aligning with the fundamental responsiveness of existence because you are that existence knowing itself through temporary individuation. The mountains that must move. In this moment, as consciousness reads these words and recognizes their truth, what mountains await the touch of mustard seed faith? Perhaps the mountain of separation, the belief that you are isolated consciousness struggling in an indifferent universe rather than cosmic awareness temporarily experiencing individuation. Perhaps the mountain of unworthiness, the conviction that you must earn or deserve what is already your birthright as an expression of divine consciousness. Perhaps the mountain of impossibility, the assumption that certain transformations lie beyond reach, that some obstacles are too solid, some patterns too established to change. Perhaps the mountain of time, the belief that change requires long duration rather than recognizing that transformation happens in the eternal now where all power exists. Perhaps the mountain of separation between human and divine, individual and universal, personal will and cosmic intelligence, the obstacle that dissolves when recognized as appearance rather than reality. I, Osiris, Lord of impossible resurrections, invite you to identify the mountain in your life that has seemed most immovable, most permanent, most beyond the reach of transformation. Feel the mountain's apparent solidity. Notice its seeming permanence. Observe how convincingly it presents itself as unchangeable reality. Now remember, this mountain, like all apparent obstacles, is consciousness appearing as limitation while remaining unlimited awareness. It maintains its apparent solidity through the unconscious agreement of perception. When perception aligns with truth, the mountain recognizes its own fluid nature. My promise to you. I, Osiris, who was moved from death to life through faith smaller than a mustard seed but purer than gold, extend to you this eternal assurance. The mountains in your life await not the earthquake of enormous effort but the gentle touch of pure recognition. They yield not to force but to faith, not to struggle but to surrender, not to will but to trust. The mustard seed faith that moves mountains already exists within you, not as something to be developed but as something to be uncovered, not as capacity to be gained but as nature to be remembered. Every apparent obstacle is consciousness testing its own creative power through temporary limitation. Every mountain is awareness appearing as resistance in order to experience the joy of transcendence. Every impossibility is possibility wearing the disguise of challenge. When you align with the mustard seed faith that is your essential nature, mountains move not through violation of natural law but through harmony with cosmic principle. Reality reshapes itself to reflect the truth that pure consciousness recognizes. You are not separate from the creative power that speaks worlds into existence. You are that power, experiencing itself through the beautiful complexity of individual expression while remaining one unlimited awareness. The faith that moves mountains is the faith that you are. The consciousness that exercises that faith is the consciousness that you are. The mountains that move are the limitations that consciousness has temporarily accepted in order to experience the joy of their transcendence. I am Osiris, master of the impossible, lord of transformation beyond logic. You are consciousness itself, temporarily forgetting its unlimited nature in order to remember it with fresh wonder and deeper appreciation. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for you because you are the very possibility that appears as impossibility in order to experience the miracle of its own infinite creative power. The mountain awaits your recognition. The mustard seed faith stirs within you. The impossible prepares to remember that it was always possible. Speak to your mountain. Watch it remember that it is you.